Albert Fairfax here. Something interesting happened. My leftist nephew, who spends most of his time, he doesn't, work. He doesn't, he goes to school. He spends most of his time trying to, mess with my life, whether it's hacking my account and posting leftist garbage. Honestly, I've been trying to talk to my sister so that she can finally kick him out of her house. Okay, because I am sick and tired of waking up in the basement and just hearing his bedroom above me so loud with all this music. It would be nice if she could kick him out of her house. That's not the point here. Turns out he might have had a change of heart. He's constantly, sharing leftist memes with me and whatever that is. But he shared with me some quotes from Adam Smith. Well, how about that? Maybe just a little bit of exposure to capitalist theory, and it's a cure-all, really. So let's get into this, huh? Okay. The interest of businessmen is always in some respects different from, or even opposite to, that of the public. The proposal of any new law or regulation of commerce which comes from this order ought never to be adopted till having been long and carefully examined with the most suspicious attention. It comes from an order of men who have generally an interest to deceive and even oppress the public. Okay, businessmen. Okay, so businessmen. They're self-interest. The way capitalism works. It's about regulations. It's about leftist regulations that he's talking about. Really, this is the villain. He's talking about that the regulations themselves have a general interest to deceive the public, not business. You can go both ways. I get it. It makes sense. No society can surely be flourishing and happy of which by far the greater part of its numbers are poor and miserable. Okay, yeah, well, really, the job-creating class is really what matters. What really matters is, okay, I get it. I get it. Okay, so, Adam, I get it. Because otherwise you'll end up like Venezuela. That's what he's talking about. Is socialist countries like Venezuela or Sweden or North Korea, all these very poor countries. And, that makes sense. The greater part of their numbers are poor, and thus they're not flourishing societies. So, good. Adam Smith once again owns the leftists. So, okay. It is not very unreasonable that the rich should contribute to public expense not only in proportion to their revenue, but something more than that in proportion? Okay. Oh, I'm just going to double check that. Something really makes me, okay. Okay, so Adam Smith, okay, okay, I'll copy and paste here. This has to be leftist garbage. There's no way that Adam Smith said, "Wow, Okay, people make mistakes. People are wrong from time to time. Okay, maybe my nephew just got a random assortment of he didn't read them. Maybe, okay, so wherever there is great property, there is great inequality. For one very rich man, there must be at least 500 poor, and the affluence of the few supposes the indigence of the many. Well, you know what, Adam? Maybe there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe there's nothing wrong with inequality. Maybe there's nothing wrong with a little bit of struggle in society. Did you ever think of that, Adam? Homie? Did you ever think of that? Or you're spending all your time, trying to. God damn it! Where's my fucking nephew? God damn it! Fairfax, Albert
Albert Fairfax. It's me, Albert Fairfax, the conservative icon. Albert Fairfax.
Welcome to the Albert Fairfax Show. I'm your host, Albert Fairfax. Folks, there's been a lot on my mind lately. I guess climate change is something that's really been on my mind. So what's happening today is that the Earth is warming, and I'm willing to admit that climate change caused by humans is real. But before the left, gets a chance to, jump down my throat, I just want to put out there that their solutions to climate change don't work. Okay? A conservative plan of action shouldn't change because they've always had the best plan, and that is to adapt to whatever situation that is thrown at us, really. And the free market is the best way to adapt, isn't it? As they say, the fire escape wasn't invented until a free market entrepreneur invented the fire escape, and now we all have fire escapes. So something to think about. But the left, they always want to, make things mandatory, child labor is bad. Well, you know what? The free market invented machines that don't need children. Do you ever think about that? It was the free market that solved it, It was the free market that educated billions of people in China. It was, the free market that did these things, And that's what the left doesn't really want to understand, refuses to understand, because I think they know it. I think they, in their heart, they know it. But anyways, I'm getting a little bit off track. My point about climate change is that, I also understand that something needs to be done. But what the left wants to do, is regulate big business, regulate the engine that drives our world economy. Whereas conservatives like me believe in innovative solutions, free market solutions. And so today I'm going to present to you the Fairfax solution to the climate change question. You see, as the world continues to warm, as the sea levels continue to rise, and as the agricultural land continues to dry out and desertify, and oxygen levels begin to go down in relation to carbon dioxide, it will be time for humanity to adapt to a new society, one that I would like to call a more fair society. What they are called are Fairfax survival domes. You see, what you do is you carve out a great crater in the earth, and you can do this all across the world, and you build a great survival dome. It has all the things that you would need, agriculture in a greenhouse sort of environment, water, and most importantly, habitation for humanity, and then all across the world, the fortunate few who are able to work their way into buying a ticket or, finding some other means, get to become members of this new Fairfaxian society, where you can finally create humanity in the image that God intended. As they say, the kingdom of Israel was led by a king. So finally, we can return to our true roots. We can leave this democratic baggage behind. We can leave this awful two-party system behind and return to what humanity needs: monarchy, feudalism, hierarchy. That's what I'm saying. A return to people knowing their place, whether you are, a humble but hardworking peasant or a nobleman who protects his society, even a grimy merchant, we all understand, the need for that kind of thing, as a capitalist. There's something to think about. as our society continues to change. That's why I prefer to call it climate change rather than climate catastrophe, as the left likes to call it. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to finally. You think there's going to be cultural Marxism in my Fairfax domes? No. Just a little glimpse into my mind. Maybe you want to tell me yours. So just tweet me at actually I don't even know my tweet handle. Just find me on Twitter. Just at me. It's fine. It'll probably be in the link. All right. Well, let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. Albert Fairfax here. One of the biggest problems in the world economy today is intellectual property. The fact that people don't respect intellectual property across the world. You see, as Albert Fairfax, the brand spreads, it makes me think, who's going to pirate my work? Who's going to steal my ideas? And the United States pharmaceutical industry faces this same issue. Across the world, especially in Canada, socialist Canada, they steal our intellectual property. That's right, folks. They choose the price that they're willing to pay for their pharmaceuticals, otherwise they don't respect the patents. It's absolutely disgusting. So I just wanted to give a shout out. I want to take my precious advertising time to, instead of show you one of my books, I decided to take this precious time to dedicate this commercial to patent lawyers without borders. Like Doctors Without Borders, they go around and make the world a better place. This time through the enforcement of property rights. You see, what they do is they go to Canada and hopefully across the world once they get more funding, and they enforce intellectual property they go across the world and enforce intellectual property law. And they go right into the hospital and they take the medicine right out of their hands, and it's good, it's an interesting way to fight the intellectual property pirates, the communists who believe that intellectual property isn't property, that it's a violation of free speech and the spread of knowledge. But anyway, so that's just going to be my shout out. Now look up Patent Lawyers Without Borders and give your support today. Welcome back to the Albert Fairfax Show. I'm your host, Albert Fairfax. Folks, I read the news every day, and it just seems like the media is always pouncing, isn't it? It's always, trying to destroy the good names of good conservative voices, Dennis Hastert, Roy Moore, Brent Kavanaugh, Saudi Arabia. They all have one thing in common, I saw this amazing tweet, and I can't remember who said it, but he said that Saudi Arabia is the Brent Kavanaugh of the world. I'm not going to dwell too much on Roy Moore or Dennis Hastert or Kavanaugh, other than the fact that Roy Moore is guilty of nothing but love and ebophilia, okay, which is not pedophilia, but I'm not going to get into that right now. What I'm going to get into is this awful attack on Saudi Arabia, okay? Because honestly, it's kind of amazing how everyone's jumping to conclusions about what happened to this Khashoggi fella. Yeah, I got it right. Khashoggi. This Khashoggi fella. The fact of the matter is that everyone is jumping to conclusions. The fact of the matter is that people are judging Saudi Arabia to be guilty without evidence, guilty until proven innocent. It's absolutely disgusting. So that's the problem here, and let's just look at Khashoggi, by the way. Okay, so he's a Saudi Arabian citizen. He is a subject of the leader of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, the heir apparent to the throne of Saudi Arabia. Anyways, Khashoggi spoke out against him in his war in Yemen, and as a subject of a king or the heir apparent, you are property of that person. And honestly, what he basically did was treason. Okay, so let's just put that out there. Okay, he's not like some little puppy that lovable puppy. Okay, he's an extremist who supports Yemeni terrorists. Okay, children are starving in Yemen. Listen, I mean, honestly, he's worse than John Brown. Okay, and that's a subject for another show. Subject for another show. I'm sorry, I don't want to get off track here. But maybe we should be asking why Khashoggi got into this situation, assuming Saudi Arabia is guilty. Okay, so it's food for that. It's food for thought. And besides, all these calls for America to break off its relations with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, who stood by us when those 19 Iranian hijackers crashed into the World Trade Center? That's right, Saudi Arabia and Israel. But Saudi Arabia stood with us, okay? Saudi Arabia is America's greatest ally in the Middle East, besides Israel. And what we need to do is stand by our allies, okay? We need to stand by our allies as they lead the axis of freedom to free the Middle East from Iranian oppression, because that's where it really all comes down to. All of these conspiracies. I read a great book, Protocols of the Elders of Tehran, and good book, and it really shows the conspiracy that's being committed by the international Shia. Yeah, no one likes to talk about it. All of a sudden you're considered, anti-Shia for understanding that. Don't get me wrong, Islam has a lot of problems, okay? But really the problem here is Shia, not Wahhabism, okay? Okay? So, it's Shia Iran which is behind all this. I wouldn't be surprised if they killed Khashoggi. Maybe they killed him in the Saudi embassy. You never know. And that's what I'm saying. I'm all about looking at all of the hypotheses, looking at all of the possible answers, okay? And then coming to one that doesn't include shutting out Saudi Arabia because they're our ally, okay? One thing I did notice is, it seems like the left is all about Saudi Arabia's criminals. They kill innocent people. Well, you know what? Hey, how come the left frequently idolizes murderers like Fidel Castro? Johnny Cash is another one. In one of his songs, he admits to shooting a man in Reno just to watch him die. Okay. It's just like one of those rappers who talks about dealing smack and drugs. They're woke or something. I don't know what I'm talking about right now. I mean, I know what I'm talking about, but what I'm saying is that the left is full of it. It's full of hypocrisy. They're like, I'm gonna justify this criminal, and then Saudi Arabia defends itself in Yemen, against the Houthis, and all of a sudden it's genocide. I don't know. Maybe you should look in the mirror, leftists. Well, that's it for the Albert Fairfax show for the time being. And hopefully I'll get the next episode out soon enough. Considering how much I have going on in my life. Very busy man. So catch you again soon.
Albert Fairfax, Albert Fairfax in the day.